God, you call me by my name. The love you give me, I just can't deny. Yeah. No longer blinded, I can see you. I'm on my way to meet you. We gotta talk, you know. All these trials and tribulations got me tired, I need rest. And I heard that I can come to you when weary of my flesh. You awaken me from death, God, I need you. No more walking by the flesh, that's when I leave you. God told me I'm someone, 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 know that I'm someone, no, I'm a child of God. I wanna go the godly way, close to your.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Melody Shari, all right? Songstress, songwriter, serial entrepreneur, right here in Huntsville, Alabama.
Absolutely. And I think it's really apropos that you were in Selma recently for the 60th anniversary of the Edmund Pettus Bridge Bloody Sunday. And because you were born and raised in Alabama, not that far away, and not only were you born and raised in Alabama, you thrived and became a very successful businesswoman in Alabama. A story that is not told enough. So it was kind of apropos that you fulfilled the American dream and then still went back to celebrate the 60th anniversary of Selma. Tell me, how was the experience there?
Okay, so, well, it was actually held in Montgomery.
Oh, Montgomery, okay.
Yeah, but that's where the march happened, from Selma to Montgomery. So, it made sense, but it was amazing to be a part as they commemorated the 60th anniversary. It was super, super amazing. So many amazing, intelligent leaders that are born and raised in Alabama that's often overlooked, That's one of the reasons, even whenever I first had the notion and idea to want to try to highlight Alabama on a national television network, the reason was because I wanted to show that, hey, despite what the narrative may be, we have beautiful, successful entrepreneurs, people who are thriving, who look like us right here in Alabama. So being able to be a part, because it was history in the making again, but to be in Montgomery and be a part, where a lot of that history took place and just honoring people who were a part of that process. It was super, super heartwarming. And I was really just blessed to be in the room.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, your mom is an author, correct?
Yes, she is.
Yes. And so she probably talked to you over the years when you were growing up about her experiences in the Deep South in Alabama during a not so good time, segregation, Jim Crowism, whatever. How did that inform your childhood and how you grew up to be?
So I actually grew up about an hour south of Montgomery. I'm in Huntsville now. But I grew up about an hour south of Montgomery. And, my community, Brundage, super small, super, super small, one red light. I tell people that all the time, super small. And fortunately, for the most part, I was not faced a lot with, racism and, just the feelings of those, being treated differently, right? And maybe that's because it was so small. Everybody was kind of like family, you know what I mean? But I do know my mother had her share of incidents, where she stood up. She was the first female to play on her high school baseball team back then. And, there were some other things with the police department in the city of Brundage where my mom took a stand. And while she didn't become the first female officer, it opened the door for someone else that they ended up choosing. So, just being able to be someone who leads, I encourage everybody to do that. Never follow what everybody else is doing. Always try to be a leader. And so I feel like that's something that's just in my DNA.
Absolutely. And was it your mom who installed you, your parents installed, your mom that installed in you that sense of that entrepreneurial spirit? Because right now...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So growing up, like I remember at one point she had a cleaning business. At one point she had a trucking business. So I definitely was around and able to see what entrepreneurship looked like. So I saw that with my own two eyes. My uncles, my grandfather, they're all farmers. And so I saw them handling their business as well. They didn't go into a corporate job, so to speak, and working 8 to 5. And so I did see that. I was privy to that. And so, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, those experiences that you get to see and witness as a child definitely shapes you as an adult.
Absolutely. And so then moving further along, you went to school in Alabama, college, and then you became a school teacher, but you always had entrepreneurship in the back of your mind. Tell me how you balanced that and how you made that transition, which is the culmination of the American dream, which is to work for yourself and make a lot of money while providing a service for someone. So tell me how you make it. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, so, I went to college at Alabama A&M University, HBCU. I graduated in 3.5 years, 3.97 GPA, and I went on to teach for 3.5 years. My degree is in secondary education, English language arts. And to this day, I still love teaching. I have a property preservation class where I've created over 1,000 entrepreneurs since 2020 when I started my class. So I still get a chance to do that I love, which is teach and educate and help people just become their best selves, right? But after I was in the teaching field, I knew that for the level of living that I wanted to experience and the level of giving that I wanted to experience, that salary was not going to do it. It just was not going to do it. So, it wasn't going to do it. So while I was teaching, I was running a lawn care business and a cleaning business at the same time. And eventually I got into property preservation in 2010. And a few months, 3-4 months after that, I resigned from teaching altogether and totally focused on my entrepreneurship goals. And so the transition for me, and I would tell anyone, when you're going into something new, you try it out, see how it goes. At first, try to balance it with your 9 to 5. I always say, don't leave for show money to get more money and end up with no money, okay? That's not what we're trying to do. So give it a shot doing both first. And when it gets to the point where your business has grown so much to the point where you can't do both things, that's whenever you make that final decision.
Absolutely. And so this really kind of ties back into the 60th anniversary of Selma, because that's what our forefathers and mothers, our ancestors, were fighting for. The previous generation that came before us were fighting for the opportunities that you experienced. And
opportunities, the freedom, opportunities to vote, our voting rights, and being treated equally, and being seen, being heard, and I feel like whenever you are in entrepreneurship and you're able to then make certain moves in the community, you're seen more, you're heard more, your platform grows, so you're able to make more change, right? So all of that matters, but at the end of the day, it all is here now because of the people who sacrificed for us prior to.
And that's why you felt it was important to be a part of that, to be involved.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And, when they asked, it was no hesitation. Joe Geis hit up my PR, and when they mentioned it and asked, I actually ended up in Montgomery twice that week. There was a women's empowerment luncheon that I was a speaker for as well, and then I went back a couple of days later to host, the commemoration of the anniversary from the march from Selma to Montgomery. But no hesitation in the fact that, Mayor Reed, who was also Mayor of Montgomery, heavily a part of the event. We were able to honor and recognize those individuals, the freedom fighters, and, just discuss and show a video of some of the historical moments that took place back then, all the way to when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. also got involved, right? And on that third march, finally, they made it all the way through with the troops moving to the side and letting them through. So, all of that was just beautiful, and it just really lets you know it doesn't matter how tough something is. If you really, really, really want it, you keep going, and victory will be yours.
Absolutely. You ever think about that? Because I went to the 50th anniversary in Selma when President Obama honored the legend John Lewis. John Lewis, and
yeah,
the drive was far. Can you imagine walking from Selma to Montgomery?
no, I know. I mean, I will say our ancestors, their tenacity and just, their willpower is something that we all can learn from in this generation. They weren't people easily to give up. And what we've got to do is know that that is in our DNA. It's in our bloodline. We've got to tap into it.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So talk to us about moving forward with you in terms of, is it Holt and Holt Enterprises?
So, yes, no. So actually, I have 7th Avenue Beauty, which is my beauty, body, hair, and skincare line. And that has been going very well. I actually just got back. That's why I'm a little hoarse now. I actually just got back from LA Sunday because I hosted an 8-hour TikTok live where I sold products. I do that at least once a month, where I sell my skincare and body care products. And so things are going really well. Things are going well. And I'm still the reason why I wanted to get out of the teaching field. So again, like I told you, the level of living and giving I wanted to do, I still find ways and time to give back to my community. I was just at a local school recently that's predominantly Black and participated and read to the students for Dr. Seuss Week. So I am enjoying being in a place where I have the freedom to do those things that matter most to me, and those things that are most important to me. I also have my few beautiful babies. I said, hey, I'm also raising 3 queens and a king. So, there's obligation there to make sure that generation is better than my generation, right? So I spend a lot of time talking to, teaching them, and just showing them what it looks like even for them if they want to be entrepreneurs, which they do, by the way. And so, it's just beautiful to see and to be able to have the freedom to move how I want to move and do the things that matter most.
Absolutely. What are some of the lessons that you learned from your mom as well as her generation that marched, that protested, that got beat, some of them killed?
Yeah.
In our honor, what are some of the lessons that you take from them that you pass on to other people as you continue in your teaching profession, as you say?
Never allow fear to hold you back, right? If our ancestors were fearful of their lives being taken in order to stand up for what they believed in, then we wouldn't have nearly the freedom and rights that we have today, right? So a lot of my students are going into a field that I teach, are going into a field that has been predominantly male white driven.
Yes.
And most of my students are Black females. So I teach them, don't you become afraid. Don't you allow fear or being in the minority to stop you from going after everything that you feel belongs to you, or to hinder you from reaching those monetary goals that you've set, right? And so I love that part of it. I love being able to let these ladies know, because most of my students are African-American females. Let them know that if you put your mind to it, you can do it. And we will not, you can say I'm a little anxious because it's new for me, but don't you use the word fear.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. How often do you teach these classes, and where can people sign up, those who are not in the know?
Absolutely. So the web address is masterclasswithmelody.com. I've been teaching since June of 2020, created over 1,000 entrepreneurs to date, and I usually teach them about every 2 months. Because the course is 5 weeks long. So we meet on Mondays for about an hour. They get a one-on-one with me every week as well. And it's a 5-week course. So after I do 5 weeks, I take a little break, and then I usually start another one up.
Okay. Can you talk about some of the things that you teach in this masterclass with Melody?
Absolutely, sure. So property preservation is what I teach. And it's an industry, like I said, that had been kept from us for a long time. So when you talk about stepping out into things that are new, stepping out and doing things that are considered deja vu or different, and not being afraid, right? So property preservation is managing, foreclosed properties for banks. So my students are actually the ones who are performing the evictions, they're doing the lock changes, they're maintaining the lawn until the bank sells that foreclosed property, they're repairing and taking care of any vandalism, any storm damage, fire damage, theft, and all of that may happen on the foreclosed property as well. They're doing all of that for the banks and getting paid to do so. And so I have students all across the nation. I've had students from Cali all the way to New York to Florida, everywhere, because it is taught via Zoom, and foreclosures are everywhere. And I tell people all the time, there will always be foreclosure activity because people die, people lose jobs, people get divorces, and sometimes people just walk away from their homes because they want to start a new life, right? So foreclosures have always been present, and they'll always continue to be present.
I see. And what are some of the things, and you may have already touched upon this, some of the things that you're teaching them while you're in this class that is related to the class, but not necessarily? For example, you might be teaching them how to persevere. You might be teaching them how to overcome obstacles, how to rebound from disappointment. What are some of the things that are also being taught during the class?
So sometimes my students may apply for their first company for their contract, and maybe there's not work in their area with that company, and they may say, oh, such and such just denied me. And I say, okay, on to the next one. So let's apply to the next company, right? So you don't allow disappointment or a denial to cause you to become stagnant. You've got to be ready to move on to what's next. Okay, the next one then, okay? And so that's part of it, because I always tell them what's for you is for you. And if you are operating in divine alignment, everything that's supposed to be aligned with you will happen, right? And so, of course, I have some students, they've never started a business before. So in my class, they're creating LLCs, they're getting business insurance. We're doing all this in the class. And so even being able to talk to them, teach them, and walk them through that. How do you create your LLC? What website do you go? Your Secretary of State website to do that. So if you're interested, sign up, masterclasswithmelody.com, and we'd love to have you.
I see. Do you have a set number of people that you teach on during each session or each course?
I would say the largest class that I've had was 190 students about 2-3 years ago.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But you usually don't go over that.
No, I've never gone over 190.
Okay.
No.
Because that sounds like that's a large class. You know
it was a lot. It was a lot of students. That was my largest class. I'm teaching the class right now. We have 45 students in this one.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So that sounds like a university. It's almost like a university course.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. Yeah, the teacher in front, and it's an auditorium filled with students.
That part. But you know what I love? I think it's so awesome, and what I enjoy is being able to, still run my businesses and do all those things I enjoy doing, but also being able to do my first love as well. My students are just different. I taught middle school, so my students were once 12 and 13-year-olds. Now my students are adults, right? But I'm still getting a chance to be in that process of helping people change their lives and be the best they can be. Because when I went into the classroom, I was 22 years old, right? I just turned 22, teaching middle school. And that was my thing. I wanted students to be able to see a teacher who looked like them, being successful, taking care of themselves, challenging them to be their best. And so I'm getting to do that right now still.
No, absolutely. And in the process, by providing a service, you're able, I guess the universe is making room for you financially. And I guess that's the epitome of the American dream, is to provide a service and to make a good living in return. And then, two sets of entities get to grow at once. The people you're teaching as well as you.
Absolutely. What a beautiful exchange is that?
Exactly. So, which segues into my next question in regards to, will we see Melody Shari back on TV? Will she, coming out with a book? What is she starting another business? What is Melody Shari doing right now?
I would say stay tuned. Keep following me. I am always throwing a curveball. Always throwing a curveball. But I will say this to you. Because I've said this anyway on my own social media. In regards to television per se, I am definitely enjoying being able to be free to do the things I enjoy doing. I thank God every day that I'm not in a position to where I feel like sometimes we're always hit with the what's next, what's next, what's next, what's next. Like you always got to be on what's next, what's next. And I just kind of thank God that I'm in a position to where I don't have to rush and try to hurry up and get back on television because I need a check from TV. You know, so I thank God for that. That He has positioned me in a way.
TV is a double-edged sword.
Correct. Absolutely is. Absolutely is. And so I'm just thankful that He has positioned me to a place where I can move literally at the beat of my own drum.
That's what's up. So how do people who aren't privy follow you, or if they haven't been on point as much in terms of following people so that they can follow their success? Where do they follow you at?
Absolutely. So I am on Facebook and Instagram, Melody Shari, MELODYSHARI. And then I am on TikTok as well, Melody Shari 11. So I would love for you to follow me there so you can stay up to date with everything that I have going on. And also I do several things a lot. I do giveaways. I do community events where I do food giveaways here in the community regularly also. So yes, please follow me.
No, absolutely. So Melody Shari, thank you for taking time to speak with me.
Thank you
for absolutely breaking down the events of the 60th anniversary of Selma, and just being grateful for the people who provided a pathway for you not to have to experience what your mom experienced and your mom's generation, and then you're able to pass it on, like you said, to make the next generation better than this one. And so on and so on, and keep going
that's
up.
That's what we're supposed to do. You better believe it.
Absolutely. So blessings to your businesses, and blessings to your future endeavors. And stay tuned, audience. We may see her in the near future, maybe the distant back on TV. Who knows? But for right now, just follow her on Melody Shari on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We want it all. Your fire is consuming. Fill this place and set it up.